Glidden here with another live edition of Fire Your MD Now. We have a full board of callers. The number to call to talk to me, of course, 866-582-9933, and the number to call to get information about the products or the business opportunity, 855-347-3696. Before we get to the callers, I'm going to take the first segment to continue my conversation, my diatribe, I guess it's diatribe, about influenza. Now, I promised yesterday that I would talk to you about something called the CIDRAP, Comprehensive Influenza Vaccine Initiative. Let me tell you what that means. CIDRAP is an acronym for the Center for Infectious Disease Research and Policy. The Center for Infectious Disease Research and Policy, and that's, of all places, at the University of Minnesota. They did a comprehensive overview of the literature concerning vaccines and the whole vaccinosis thing, right? It involved mining. Their report mined 12,000 documents, articles, and meeting transcripts, as well as 5,700 peer-reviewed vaccine studies published from 1936 through April 2012. Interestingly, and they made it, I'm going to tell you what their claim was in a minute. And if they'd have made the claims that they're making now 5 years ago, they would have been blackballed by the medical community. Things are starting to lighten up because in recent years, studies by a variety of research groups, including in Canada, have shown that the long-quoted claims that flu shots offered 70 to 90% protection against influenza have been off the mark. What this study suggests is that somewhere in the order of 50 to 60%, but only in healthy adults, is more accurate. Years ago, the pharmaceutical industry said that, the flu vaccine gives a 70 to 90% protection against influenza, and that was just wrong. It was incorrect. Better numbers are 50 to 60%. And this is because, when you monopolize an industry, you can do whatever the heck you want, and there's no problem. Nobody slaps you on the wrist. There's no oversight. You can say whatever you want to say. Even the vaccine used in the U.S. during the 2009 pandemic, where there was a perfect match between the virus and the vaccine and the virus that was infecting people, it was a perfect match. It only gave about 56% effectiveness, And I question those numbers. Why do I question those numbers? Because here's how they figure it out. What they do is they will look at 100 or 1,000 sick people. They'll look at 1,000 people who admit themselves to the hospital with an upper respiratory tract infection. An upper respiratory tract infection because that's where the flu virus targets, the upper respiratory tract, right? The lungs and the nose and the throat. The eyes, ears, nose, mouth, and throat. That's where the flu virus targets. So they look at 1,000 sick people, and of the 1,000 sick people, remember they're all sick, they look at the ones who test positive for the influenza virus, and the testing that they do is actually pretty good. It's called a real-time polymerative chain assay. It actually looks for the DNA or the RNA of the virus. It's a pretty cool test, actually. And it's a high level of sensitivity, a very low level of specificity, which means it gives very few false positives but lots of false negatives. And when you're testing for the presence of virus or whatever, that's a good thing, relatively speaking, for this type of a study. So the testing is good. So they'll look at 1,000 people who go to the hospital and they have upper respiratory tract infections, and then they'll test them for influenza, see how many of those 1,000 have influenza. And then of those who had influenza, they look to see how many were vaccinated, and that's how they figure it out. They do not look at the whole population. They do not look at everybody who's been vaccinated and see how many of them got sick. They don't do that. They only look at people who report to the hospitals as sick, which is crazy. And this is why you'll hear on the news now, I heard it just before this radio program today on the news, some doctors being interviewed, well, the current trivalent flu vaccine offers 60% protection. Well, BS. They got the 60% number from looking at 1,155 sick people in hospitals. Sick people, they don't look at the population at large. Nobody's ever studied it that way. Nobody's ever studied it that way. So, their conclusions are faulty. They lack intellectual integrity. And you would think that people in the scientific community should have, some type of intellectual integrity to be able to question a testing procedure like this, to be able to question a testing methodology like this, but they don't. Nobody does. Which is one more reason why everybody needs to fire their MD now, because even when they try to do science, they do it wrong. They do it bad. It's fuzzy logic. It's fuzzy science. Maybe it kind of gets us into the ballpark of being able to get a cursory understanding of, well, is it effective or is it not? Is the vaccine effective or is it not? Well, it's, 50% of the people who had the upper respiratory tract infection, who had the flu, didn't get vaccinated. Or, 20% who didn't have it got vaccinated, whatever. It's nuts. The way that they look at the numbers is through a very specific lens. It's like having, rose-colored glasses on. And everything that you look at is rose-colored. There's an a priori built-in prejudice to their research modality, and nobody sees it, or if they see it, they overlook it. And it's bad. I mean, it's just a juvenile science. It's juvenile at best. And then they'll publish these studies, and all of the MDs and all of the PhDs, they huddle together and they pat themselves on the back. Oh, that was a good study. And they completely overlook the fact that, number one, they don't know how the virus works. They don't even know what a virus is. They can't decide, is the virus alive or is the virus dead? And I talked about that on yesterday's show. They don't really know the method of action of, once it gets in the body, how does it get to its target cell? And once it gets to the target cell, how does it get in? I mean, if it's dead, how does it do all this? I mean, if I was trying, again, to rob a bank, and I just threw a dead body in the bank, I wouldn't expect the dead body to be able to make its way up to the counter and then to initiate some type of relationship between himself or herself and the bank teller, and then to get the money and then to get out of the bank. They're dead. Well, if the flu virus is dead, how does it do what it does? Nobody answers this question. Nobody even asks this question. So I posit the question, well, what is the relationship between the influenza virus inside the body and the immune system and the reaction of the body to the stress of life? I mean, is it possible to get sick? When people get sick, what is it that makes them get sick? Is it the virus? Is it the virus? Can people have the virus and not get sick? Nobody's answered that question. Is it the virus itself, all by itself, which makes people sick? It can't be. Because if it was the virus itself, all by itself, that made people sick, then there wouldn't be a seasonal thing going on here. Right? Because we only get the flu in the winter in the northern hemisphere in the United States. They only get the flu in the winter in the southern hemisphere. Their winter is our summer. So somewhere on the planet, people have the flu 12 months out of the year, but only for 6 months in the northern hemisphere and only for 6 months in the southern hemisphere. So what's going on here? There's traffic back and forth. People are traveling all of the time between the southern hemisphere and the northern hemisphere. So why don't the people who have the flu in Australia, who come to the United States in the summer, and they cough and sneeze on somebody, if it's just the virus, why don't we get it? Well, you would think that we would, but we don't. And again, science doesn't have an answer for this. they think it's just the virus, and it can't be just the virus. There's other stuff going on, and they completely overlook it. And then when they try to determine how effective the vaccination is, they only look at sick people. They don't look at a whole population of vaccinated people, see how many of them got sick and how many of them didn't get sick, and then make a guesstimate. That would be better. They don't do a double-blinded study where they take 1,000 people, vaccinate 500 of them, and expose everybody to the influenza virus. They should do that, but they don't. Oh, you can't do that, Dr. Glidden. That's unethical. Well, what's more unethical? Giving people Guillain-Barré syndrome, a chronic neurological disorder from the flu? Is it more unethical to kill 600 million people from a vaccine that you developed to treat a flu pandemic in 1918? The flu pandemic I talked about in 1918 killed 600 million people worldwide, and we think that it was created from the vaccine. We think it was the vaccine that created the pandemic. We think it was a vaccine that killed 600 million people. And nobody's up in arms. And, you know, how many people died last year from guns in this country? 30,000 people. 30,000 people died from gun violence in the United States, and, you know, we want to regulate guns. 600 million die from vaccinations. We're okay with that. 780,000 are killed a year by MDs, and we don't bat an eyelash. But when 31,000 people suffer from gun violence, we have to regulate that. But when the MDs kill almost 1 million of us, we give them a pass. This is how upside down and inside out we are here in this country. And this is why you need to fire your MD. You need to fire your MD now and give me a call right here, live on the Genesis Communication Network. And to fulfill that need, 31,000 people are killed in gun-related violence every year, and the government goes crazy. Passes new legislation with executive orders. 780,000 people a year are killed by medical doctors, and the government makes it mandatory for us to have access to this type of medicine. What's wrong with this picture? Well, everything's wrong with this picture. That's why we exist here at Fire Your MD Now. It's to bring a level of sanity to the conversation about health and wellness. And medical doctors, bless their hearts, they might be really nice human beings. You know, they might, donate time to Doctors Without Borders. They might work at the soup kitchen, right? They might be supporters of the local Little League or the Boys and Girls Club or the police or the firemen or whatever. But the therapeutics that they deliver are the leading cause of death in the United States. We need to, pull back the curtain on this, expose it for what it is, and teach people what they can do instead. And this is it. We're teaching people what they can do instead, right here live at Fire Your MD Now. Check out the website of the same name, fireyourmdnow.com. Going right to the phones first with Mark from Wisconsin. Thanks for the call, Mark. You are live.
Hi, Doctor. I have a question about a woman who has a heart condition. I'm not sure what it is, but it's IIHF.
IHF?
IIHF.
Yeah, I don't know what that could be. But it doesn't matter, Mark. Well, I mean, it matters. It might matter downstream. But initially, all that we do here, and Mark, you're going to have to turn down your computer because we're getting feedback here. All right, so put the audio off. I don't know if you'll be able to hear me if you do that. But
yeah, it's not on. It might be my cell phone. Is this better?
Okay, it might be a little better. So what we do, right, is the Healthy Brain and Heart Pack first, plus the diet. Everybody gets, eliminates the 10 bad foods. And then it's a heart condition, so what the heck? A good place to start until we get more data or a little bit more traction here is the Healthy Brain and Heart Pack. So it would be one Healthy Brain and Heart Pack per 100 pounds of body weight per month. And make sure that she's getting selenium to the tune of 1 bottle per 50 pounds of body weight per month. And that's a very, very good place to start in order to support and promote the health of anybody with a heart condition. Now, there's one more thing that I do. In the States where I am licensed to prescribe statin drugs, When I have a patient who presents in my office with a heart condition, the first thing I do is have them flush the statin drugs down the toilet. Now, you know, I can't recommend people do that in Wisconsin because I'm not licensed to prescribe statin drugs in Wisconsin. But I am not a fan of statin drugs, and anybody that's taking a statin drug should get a second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th opinion until they find a licensed medical practitioner in their state who's willing to take the stand that statin drugs are no good. So start her out with the diet, with the healthy brain and heart pack, and the ultimate selenium for 90 days. See how she does on that, and then call us back with an update if necessary. And most of the time it's not necessary because our generic boilerplate programs cut the mustard most of the time. So check it out, try it out, and thank you for calling. Thank you for your support. Thank you for being a voice of sanity in your community. We need 1 million more people just like you, Mark.
Can I tell you, she was told by the doctors that this is a hereditary condition, and it's like I know, and it's a thickening of something that connects the two parts of the heart together.
Yeah, okay, so that's
and they told her she needs a pacemaker, so...
Yeah, no, she doesn't need a pacemaker. Give her she doesn't. But she's probably not going to listen to you.
Right.
So, right, give her the CDs, give her Dr. Wallach's CDs, give her my CDs, have her call the radio program up herself, or bring her to one of my webinars in order to expose her to a different way of thinking. And failing all of that, just have her ask her medical doctor which gene it is that's causing the problem.
Right.
All right?
Right.
And see if he can answer it. See if he can fluster the MD a little bit. And anybody that's going in for any type of a surgical procedure, they need to know in writing what the potential side effects of the treatment are and what they can expect 2 years downstream, 5 years downstream. They need to have the medical professional paint them a picture of what their life is going to be like with the pacemaker. Of course, they won't want to do this because it's going to be horrible. Knowledge is power. See if you can't kick that dragon a little bit. God heals, and the physician collects the bill. Remember that moving forward. Roberto is up next from Michigan, I think, with a question about autism. Hey, thanks for the call, Roberto. What's up?
Oh, thank you very much. I can't tell you how much the family wishes to thank everyone for longevity. It's changing everybody's life. But the first thing I need to know is the family would like to consult with you in your office by phone. Is that possible?
Well, I had a problem here in the great state of Illinois. The Illinois Department of Professional Regulation found me guilty of practicing medicine without a license because I had the audacity to use the word doctor on my website.
I recall when you mentioned that. Yes, I recall that program.
Yeah, they sent the legal notices that I was being, sued to the wrong address. And then when I didn't show up in court, they found me guilty in absentia and fined me $5,000. It's a kangaroo court, and it's ridiculous. Sure. So I'm in the middle of a legal falderall right now, trying to figure out how to do this. So what the I believe.
We are looking for someone that we can consult with,
Well, that's me.
No.
That's going to be me, but here's what has to happen, right? I have to get licensed. I live in Illinois. The closest state to Illinois that licenses and regulates naturopathic medicine is... I'm
in Michigan, so I don't know.
Yeah, and it's Minnesota. I have to go to Minnesota. So 2 days a month, I will be flying from Chicago to Minnesota, working at an office in the Minnesota airport, doing phone consultations with people around the world. How absurd is that?
Well, but you're going to... we'll take it. We'll take whatever you have. So will you keep us informed through the radio, or do we have a number I can call?
So the best thing to do in order to get a heads up on that is just log into my website, and you'll be able to see the how to make an appointment and the information there when that stuff's happening. It's probably going to be next week.
Oh, so very good. Oh, excellent.
I think as soon as next week that option should be available. So check it out. All right.
Oh, excellent. Well, I'll give you a quick history if I can. He is 3 years old. At the age of 7 months, when she had the baby, I had just started finding out about the dangers of vaccines, so I convinced her not to take the first hepatitis B shot the first 12 hours of his birth on the earth. And we did for a few months, held back, but unfortunately took him to a wellness visit at 7 months. They put 4 vaccines into 1 injection. The following morning he woke up with seizures, and from that moment on, we basically took a beautiful, healthy, vibrant, attentive, beautiful motor skills, and he left us. Within 2 months, he was gone. So thanks to Alex Jones and Dr. Wallach, who I found through Alex Jones and yourself, I started to study. I'm a dental technician. I work in my own lab at home, and I'm just listening to your programs all the time, trying to get as much information as I can. And we learned about his diet and gluten-free, and we've done that. And we're doing a detox through a doctor locally here in Michigan, a natural type of detox. But I 6 days ago, I talked him into using the products. And yesterday she called and told me that for the first time he's beginning to put words together and do things he's never done before. So I know that's the answer, but we just don't know how much to give him and what to give him.
Okay, so the dosages are based on body weight. And it's very difficult to give too much. I mean, it's very difficult to give too much, right?
We're giving him he's 45, about 45 pounds. We're giving him a scoop of BTT, an ounce of osteo, 3 EFAs, and 1 capsule of selenium. And I'm not sure whether we should go up or down from there.
No, that's a really great place to be. I would stay there. You might find it more prudent to break the Beyond Tangy Tangerine up into a half a scoop twice a day.
That's what we're doing, yes, correct.
And the half an ounce twice a day of the white liquid calcium, right?
Yes, correct.
All right, so that's perfect. I would just stay there, make sure he's on a gluten-free diet. And one of the things that happens, and by the way, what happened to this kid is this is a child with vaccinosis, right? It was the vaccine reaction?
At least, I understand. I've heard Dr. Wallach say that it's all in nutrition based, but when you see your child wake up the following morning in tremors and convulsions, there's something obvious. Obviously, to me, the stomach is being affected.
No, but listen. There is a medical reality called vaccinosis, and it's not.
I didn't know that.
It's not made up. It happens, or I'm not going to say a majority of the time, but it happens with regularity. It's called vaccinosis. And this child is, it sounds to me like it's a classic textbook vaccinosis case. And, honestly, there's probably a lawsuit here. So you might want to investigate that. Just do a little Google search for vaccinosis. But there is, in the wonderful world of holistic medicine, a homeopathic treatment, which is the first thing to consider when anyone has had vaccinosis. And the wonderful thing about homeopathy is the worst possible thing that can happen is it won't work. But homeopathic medicine, if taken the way that a homeopath like me recommends you take it, it's impossible for the medicine to hurt somebody. Right. And I've seen remarkable outcomes with vaccinosis and homeopathy. So
and with that,
the first thing to do... I'm losing the feed here. Can you hear me? Hold on, folks.
Are you there?
Yeah, here we go. So the first thing to do is get your hands on a homeopathic medicine called Thuja Occidentalis. You spell that T like Thomas, H like Harry, U-J-A, Thuja Occidentalis, O-C-C-I, D like David, E, N like Nancy, T like Thomas, A-L-I-S. Thuja occidentalis. Get the 1M strength. Thuja occidentalis, M like Mary, 1M like Mary. Give the child 2 pellets under his tongue once a day for 3 days, and then stop. 2 pellets
under his tongue?
Well, in his mouth, I don't care. It's, make sure he's sitting up when he takes it so he doesn't, breathe it into his lungs and start hacking up a lung.
How many, you're breaking up 2 pellets how many times a day?
Yeah, once a day. 2 pellets once a day for 3 days.
For 3 days. Okay.
And just maintain the discipline with medical nutrition, because once you start medical nutrition and there's a little light starts to dawn, usually what follows is every couple of days there's a little more improvement and a little more improvement and a little more improvement. It's like watching a snowball roll down the hill. So this is a good thing. You're on the right track, okay?
Oh, okay. One other quick question, if I can. I have a couple I'm supposed to see tomorrow. They're trying to have children, and they had a heck of a time. And they're asking me, so that's why I'm calling you. What should I have them do as far as healthy start plus what?
Well, Dr. Wallach has said, and rightly so, that he's gotten more women pregnant than any other man in the United States. And it's true, because the human reproductive tract is very forgiving. And if there's one thing that the human organism wants to do, it's reproduce itself. That's just, the nature of the animal. So usually it's very, very easy to help people get pregnant. And so all that we do is clean the diet up. That's of fundamental importance. They must, both the husband and the wife have to do this.
Clean diet. All right, and I'll give them the 10 foods and...
When I say clean diet, I mean eliminate the 10 bad foods, okay?
Correct.
And then it's 1 healthy start pack per 100 pounds of body weight per month, 1 bottle of selenium per 50 pounds of body weight per month, not to exceed more than 4 bottles a month. We stop at 4 bottles a month. And then if it's in the budget, they can each do... I would do 2 or 3 bottles of Z Radical a month. 2 or 3 bottles of Z Radical a month.
Both of them. Okay.
Yeah, this is a program for each individual. They should both do this, and if they both dial this in plus the diet, the chances of having a child, number 1, go way up, and number 2, the chances of having a healthy child 9 months later after conception are almost guaranteed. Okay? All right, Roberto, you're the greatest, man. Go out there and help them. You are the last best hope your community has for living a long, healthy, and wealthy life. Thanks so much for the call. Amelia from Calgary is up next with a question about essential fatty acids. Thanks for the call, Amelia.
Hello, Dr. G.
What's up?
I'm a person who cannot have a potash because his stomach opening on the bottom is so thin as a pencil, and apparently the potash would swell his stomach and the opening would close. But we have ordered a healthy blood sugar pack and essential fatty acids, and now he is wondering whether there is any potash in the EFAs or the EFAs Plus, because he's scared to take it.
Because he has an allergy to something called potash?
Potash, not an allergy, but because he had a H. pylori and his opening in his stomach is very, very small, and they try to stretch the opening and it keeps closing.
Most of the time, that's not caused by the presence of H. pylori. It's caused by the absence of copper. So, I'm going to guess that if you give this guy selenium supplementation over the course of 6 or 7 months, then that condition should go away. But as far as I know, no, there's no potash in anything that Youngevity makes. No potash in anything that Youngevity makes. Now, I've never been asked that question, and I've never investigated it with a fine-tooth comb. But one of the great things about Youngevity is they have fantastic customer service. So just give them a call, and that number is 800-982-3189. That's 800-982-3189. Ask to talk to Richard Renton.
Okay.
Richard Renton. He's the guy at Youngevity that's in charge of all the product development. And he'll know for sure whether there's a little bit of potash and this, that, or the other thing. I don't think so. I think it's a stretch. But, just to be sure, so we err on the side of caution, give them a call and check it out. And there's no harm and no foul in doing that. Sound good?
Thank you so much. Really,
all right, Amelia. Hey, you're the greatest. It's not me, it's you. Listen, I'm just driving the bus. I got a bus full of people here, and everybody else is doing the heavy lifting. I'm just, making sure we're taking the right turns. We are all in this together. Ladies and gentlemen, it's influenza week here. We're talking about the flu. Myths about the flu vaccine, and what you can do instead to support and promote the health of your body given the fact that it's flu season now. And I've talked about this Monday and Tuesday, and today's Wednesday. In the next segment, I'm going to line it up for you exactly what you should be taking every day in order to increase your chances of, number one, preventing the flu, and then to dramatically reduce the time that you're sick. Heaven forbid you do get the flu. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Get your pens and pencils and your iPads and your tablets out. Here's my recipe to prevent the flu and to support and promote the health of your body. Heaven forbid you get it. All right? So go to your Youngevity shopping cart and buy 2.5-ounce bottle of PureWorks antibacterial foam. 2.5-ounce bottle. It's $8.30. Also, get 1 7-ounce bottle of the antibacterial foam by PureWorks. That's $16.60. Then get the wall bracket for the 7.5-ounce bottle. That's $7. Get the wall bracket for the 7.5-ounce bottle. Now I want you to put the little bottle of the PureWorks foam, the 2.5-ounce, in your briefcase or in your purse or in your car. And I want you to put the wall bracket inside the back door to your house. Yeah, perfect if you have a garage. Put it on the garage side of the door coming into your house, and in cold and flu season, make everybody who comes into your house come in through that door, and everybody puts 3 pumps of the antibacterial foam on their hands and mashes it around in their hands, rubs it into their hands before they come into the house. Everybody, no exception. Nobody gets in without the PureWorks foam on their hands. Now, once you put the stuff on your hands, by the way, the active ingredient in the PureWorks foam is benzethonium chloride. How about that? Benzethonium chloride. It's perfectly safe to the human body. It kills MRSA, the flesh-eating bacteria that's resistant to bacteria. It kills the bird flu. It's excellent virus. It's an excellent antiviral, and it immediately eliminates the main vector of viral infiltration into the body, which is the hands. So, and it lasts for about 5 hours, right? So I want you to put a little timer on your iPhone, your Android, or your pocket watch, or whatever you've got. Look at the sun, if you're a pioneer in Utah. And every 4 hours, make a little alarm go off, and then you squirt more of the PureWorks foam into your hands every 4 hours. It lasts for 5 hours, but I want you to give yourself a little breathing room here, So for every 4 hours, do another dose of the PureWorks foam. And if you keep putting the PureWorks on, it's oil-based. It doesn't dry your skin out, doesn't make it crack. It actually makes your skin softer. It's an awesome product. If you and everybody in your family, everybody that comes into your house, guards themselves with the PureWorks foam, you're going to knock down and eliminate the main root of viral infiltration into the human body, which is your hands, okay? Number 1. Number 2, if you go outside during cold and flu season, wear a hat. Wear a warm hat. There's something that has to do with cold weather and the initiation of the influenza viral cycle. Nobody knows what it is. Wear a hat. I don't care if you're a man or a woman. If you go outside during cold and flu season, wear a hat, because your body loses most of its heat through your head. But I don't care if you're naked. Wear a hat, okay? Wear a hat on your head every time you go outside. Number 3, Everybody, of course, needs to be taking one healthy start pack per 100 pounds of body weight per month, one bottle of selenium per 50 pounds of body weight per month, and everybody needs to be following the good food, bad food diet, eliminating the 10 bad foods. I'm just assuming that that's happening with everybody. 2 more things you can arm yourself with. It's the colloidal silver. Colloidal silver in the bottle. Longevity sells a colloidal silver in a little 3-ounce bottle. I think it's 3 ounces. And the Killer Biotic. Get the Ultimate Killer Biotic. You actually get a couple of bottles of the Ultimate Killer Biotic just to keep in the medicine cabinet at your house. Also, the essential oil called First Defense. Now, every morning that you get up during cold and flu season, put the essential oil First Defense on your feet. Put a little dab of it on your feet. Put the colloidal silver into a little nasal spray bottle and put 2 or 3 sprays up into each nostril. Do that 2 or 3 times a day. And when you feel like you're getting sick or somebody in your family is getting sick, start the Killer Biotic. Take 3 Killer Biotic 3 times a day when you know you're sick. And for prevention, 1 Killer Biotic 3 times a day. You're going to love how you feel, ladies and gentlemen, when you do it the longevity way. I'm Dr. Peter Glidden. Stay tuned. I've got the second half coming up before you know it.